Back in November, Spooky Pinball announced that their next pinball table is going to be based on the Evil Dead, more specifically, the first two movies in the series. And I got excited. I really liked those movies. Well, more so the second one more than the first, but I was still ecstatic, especially since Bruce Campbell is going to be recording callouts specifically for this game. However, they said it was going to be limited to 888 units, and I didn't know how long it would be before I had a chance to play it. And I was thinking, well, if I was lucky, I'd get to see it at the next Pinball Expo in October. Well, fortunately for me, Galloping Ghost Pinball revealed fairly recently that it was the latest game that they had acquired, and I knew I would be going there the first chance I got to play it. I mean, it literally takes me less than 10 minutes to drive there. So I showed up on Sunday right when they opened, brought along a tripod, and set up my phone to record footage. So if you're interested in just seeing all the footage I took with no commentary, that video will be available on my other channel, Pro Capture. Keep in mind though that it's over an hour long, and it's not like I specifically booked time to film this table. This game is in the middle of a darkened room, surrounded by other pinball machines during regular business hours, so at times there's quite a bit of noise coming from other people and machines. Another thing is that you'll see a pretty intense reflection of the back glass onto the playfield, making it hard to see what's in the back of the table. But that's really just the positioning of the camera. It's not something I really noticed from my viewpoint while I was playing. Now when I showed up, the machine was free. I just jumped on it and I played for a while. Then I'd leave to play some other stuff and I would come back and play more, and I'd repeat this a couple of times, and I experimented with a few different camera angles. I mean, I didn't want to monopolize the table and I wanted to give other people a chance to play. But it's not like it was really super busy, and it really wasn't difficult to jump on the machine when I wanted to. So ultimately, after playing the machine for about an hour and 40 minutes, I can honestly say I wasn't disappointed. The one thing that really sticks out to me is the atmosphere of the table. It really feels eerie to play. The lighting is very intense and there's no background music or anything while you're playing. Just odd, creepy sounds that occasionally play. And then as you activate different modes, things really ramp up with the screaming, the taunting of the deadites, the chainsaw sound effects, and each mode seems to have its own coloring scheme, so you can kind of tell what mode you're playing just by the lights by themselves. And speaking of modes, the game has 8 main modes, but you'll only get to play 4 of them in any one game. When you start up a game, you have to choose between Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2, and whichever you pick determines the set of modes you could play, and from what I could tell, that's the only difference between the 2 selections. Everything else seems to be exactly the same. I honestly think it would have been better just to have one game where all the modes are available. It is possible that if you complete all 4 modes that the other 4 become active, but I didn't even come close to that. The game doesn't have a plunger, it's just a push-button launch, and the skill shot is really just timing a launch so the ball hits the lit drop-down target at the right time. It's kind of easy, and it's really not that interesting. What I found more fun was holding the left flipper while launching to go for the super skill shot. A random lane or ramp will be lit for a short time, and you'll get the super skill shot if you hit it in time. It's much harder to do because you'll only have enough time for one shot, and sometimes the ball winds up on a flipper where the shot is impossible to make. But I gotta say, the 2 or 3 times I actually made the shot were really satisfying. Starting the main modes is actually quite simple. Just keep hitting the ramps until the hole under the right ramp becomes active, and a mode starts once you hit that. The modes usually deal with things that happen in the movie, and I think they did a really awesome job integrating the movie clips into the video display. And it's always really clear what you need to aim for as well, and Bruce will even flat out tell you sometimes.
Shoot the blue shot, I dare you.
One of the unusual features of this table I haven't mentioned until now is the sling flipper. Instead of 2 normal slingshots above the flippers like most tables have, this table has a 3rd hidden flipper under what would normally be the right slingshot. I wasn't sure how much I'd like that because it's controlled by a separate button, and I usually don't like tables that have more than 2 flipper buttons. But in this case, I actually liked it, and that's because you never really have to quickly react to press it. There are a few shots that will feed the ball directly to that sling flipper, And once you figure out what they are, you can easily prepare for the shot ahead of time. And there's quite a few things you can hit with that flipper, from the groovy drop-down targets and the hand that moves behind them, all the way to the left ramp. And I never felt like it was a risky shot to use. The tough part is remembering to use it. There are a couple other things worth mentioning, like the cellar. The floor and the table occasionally open up, allowing you to flip around with a single flipper in the area below the playfield. And then there's Linda's head device that will spin around and either help you or flat out lie to you. And I also thought it was pretty cool how you could load the shotgun, which then puts the balls into the double shooting lanes, and then you've got to wait for just the right moment to fire. What would have made it better, though, is if there was a faux shotgun handle and trigger that would be used to launch the ball. You know, something like what was on Indiana Jones or Terminator 2. There's also 2 deadite heads that will pop up from the ground, and that could lead to a special 2-ball deadite multi-ball mode. And then there's the cabin itself, where the locked balls will sit on a porch with the swinging chair waiting for multi-ball to start. And that multi-ball is actually pretty cool. There's a tape recorder on the apron that you really can't see in my video, but once 3 balls are locked, the tape recorder starts playing, and the multi-ball starts with some really intense strobe lighting effects. I gotta say, I really like that strobing effect. The tough part, though, is actually locking the balls. The cabin shot seemed pretty tight to me, and it took me quite a while before I was able to make it on a regular basis. But you've got to hit the cabin twice before you can actually start locking balls. But once you get it unlocked, you can kind of just shoot the balls right up in there without unlocking it again. Unless you lose a ball, then you have to hit it twice again before you can start locking balls again. I honestly think they should have just let you start locking balls right away and then make it more difficult after the first time you get cabin multi-ball. And then there's one mode I know of that I never get started, and that was the insanity mode. I mean, I could see the insanity meter on the display, and I knew the shot that needed to be made to fill it, but it takes way too many shots to fill that thing up all the way. Now, as much fun as I had playing this table, there is a pretty significant issue that I don't think can be fixed with software updates, and that problem is with the ball getting stuck. There's 2 places in particular where this happened multiple times to me. The first occurs when the floor opens up to the cellar. I think it's supposed to be big enough so the ball can't get past the open floor, but on multiple occasions I managed to get the ball past it, and then it would just be stuck until the opening in the floor closes. It's bad enough you have to wait for that to happen, but all of these modes are on timers, and you're just not going to be able to complete any modes you have running if this happens. The other place the ball got stuck multiple times for me was by the groovy drop-down targets in front of the hand. If the targets are down, there's a gap just wide enough for the ball to get stuck in if it's moving slow enough. And when it does, nudging the table doesn't seem to work to free it. I actually tilted the table once, and it still wasn't enough force to free it. You can only really wait for the ball search to activate.
Something. Look, there's only room for one asshole here, all right? And that asshole is me.
All in all, though, I had a really good time playing this table. It was hard for me to walk away from it. I was actually getting ready to leave Galloping Ghost Pinball, and I thought, oh wait, let me get one more picture of the table before I go. And when I did, nobody was on it, and then I wound up playing it for another 40 minutes. I'll probably be returning in a few weeks to play it again, but I just wanted to make this video to get it out there what I thought of the table after playing it for the first time, and I gotta say it again, it ultimately did not disappoint, and I was hooked on it. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll see y'all next time.